Hi, Right Writers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be looking at shifts in point of view or changes in point of view. If that is a struggle for you, I encourage you to watch the entirety of this video as we go through in understanding what a shift or a change in a point of view is, when writers do it, and why they do it. On the left side of the screen, you're going to see our poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, thanks to a website from the poetryfoundation.org. Then on the right side of the screen, you will see a Google Doc where I will be taking notes, and we will use those notes and that information to then create paragraphs, specifically a middle school paragraph and also an upper level paragraph. So we're going to begin. Thank you again for joining me, Right Writers. We're going to begin, first of all, with the definition and thinking about shifts in point of view. So in point of view, we want to remember we're talking about first person, we're talking about second person, and we're talking about third person point of view. So that's really what we're talking about here when we're thinking about point of view. And so when the point of view shifts is when the writer basically chooses to go from one to the other. So they may choose to go from first person point of view to second person point of view, or they may choose to go from third person point of view to third person point of view. Or they may choose to go from second person point of view to first person point of view. And so that's what we mean by shifts in point of view. And so basically, it's when the writer chooses, or also the narrator chooses, the narrator or the writer chooses to shift or change perspective. So it's when the writer chooses to shift or change perspective. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this down so we can see that a little bit better. And that is really when there's a shift in point of view. So again, shifting from first person to second person to third person, or any combination of those. So keep that in mind as we're thinking about shifts in point of view. And if they choose to do this, understand that sophisticated readers will pick up on this. So sophisticated readers pick up on when this happens. Pick up on when this happens. So a younger reader, and I say just younger in general, there's no real specific age. A younger reader may not pick up on this happening. Or a reader who, someone who does not read that often, they may be confused when this happens. However, sophisticated readers will pick up on when this happens, and they will understand why it might have happened. Technically, when you're writing a paper, your professor or your teacher will encourage you not to change perspective. And the reason why they may say that is because they will say, do not have any what is called pronoun shifts. And they'll say, that's a no-no. And the reason it's a no-no is because it's confusing to readers. And so that is true. Pronoun shifts, no, do not do this. It's confusing. However, when a writer chooses to do this, there's a reason behind it. And this is what we're focused on. We're focused on, well, why are they doing this? When are they doing this, number one? When are they shifting perspective? And why are they doing this? So just understand that that's what this video is about. And I'm not going to argue with other people who tell you do not shift perspective because it is confusing, because they are right. It is confusing, but it's not confusing. However, I argue it is not confusing when you're choosing to do it for a specific reason. And that's what this is about in this video today. We're going to pick up on when it happens and why it happens with our poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer. Now let's go ahead and read our poem, and then we will begin to pull up our text evidence and to talk about this particular poem. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and expand this. I'm going to move this out of my way here so that we can look at our poem. April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. The air all full of singing feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing, the air all full of singing feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. Now, thinking about this poem, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this screen. And so I want to make sure that I ensure my success. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the link to this poem, Control C and Control V. And I'm also going to make sure that I have my poem title, that I make sure that I capitalize everything correctly. Notice how in this case the is capitalized, the I in is. However, the A is not capitalized. So just keep that in mind, that you do the same thing in your document, that we're making sure that we're doing that. And we're putting in Marilyn Singer, and so she is the poet. So April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer. Now let's start to look at our text evidence. So thinking about our text evidence and starting to understand, before we begin our middle school paragraph, where it's happening. Where, as I was reading it, this poem, where did you notice a shift in perspective, a shift in point of view? And if you notice, there is no capitalization in this poem. There is also no ending punctuation in this poem. No capitalization and no ending punctuation in this poem. So in thinking about this, this is only a one stanza poem, and it has 9 lines in it. So we've got, in this case, we've got line 1, line 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. A 9-line, one stanza poem with no capitalization and no ending punctuation. My question to you, Right Riders, is where did you notice a shift in point of view? A shift in perspective? Did you notice it here in this line? Did you notice it in this line? Perhaps do you feel like that shift happened right here in this line? In the air all full of singing feels just right? In the line, so no excuses now? In the line, we're going to the park? For me, I would argue that you could take it in a few different directions. You may decide to say that this is one point of view here in lines 1 through 3, and that there is a shift right here in the air all full of singing feels just right. Or you may argue it happens right here, so no excuses now, and you may decide to include line 4 where I boxed line 1, 2, and 3. I completely leave that up to you. For me, I am going to go here. So I'm going to make the argument that we have one perspective in lines 1 through 3. However, the perspective shifts in this line, in line 4. And now we have a shift in perspective from lines 4 through lines 9. And the reason I make the argument is because I see this word feels. The air all full of singing feels just right. And so my question is, who is doing the feeling? Who's really talking in this section in lines 4 through 9? Think about that for a moment, right, writers? And if for you, you're thinking, oh, I get it. This is when the dog is speaking. I completely agree with you. So in this case, the dog begins to reveal its voice. The dog speaks of, to the owner, no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. And so if you picked up on that, you and I are on the same page, right, writers? Now we're going to go to the right side of our screen, and we're going to begin to identify the text evidence. Again, you may choose to present your text evidence in a slightly different way, and that is 100% okay. So for me, I think the line, it begins to shift here in April is a Dog's Dream, lines 1 through lines 3. So in this case, we've got lines 1 through 3, lines 1, 2, and 3. And then we have, in this case, and I'm going to undo this. Now we're going to go ahead and pull our text evidence, lines 1, 2, and 3 here. In this case, again, right, writers, you may choose to disagree with me. Totally fine with that. April is a Dog's Dream. Notice how Google Docs wants to capitalize it, and we want to undo that. So we want to keep it lowercase because that's how it was written. April is a Dog's Dream. Now, if I use that / that lets the reader know that this is line 1 from the poem, and now that next slash means now we're going to line 2. The soft grass is growing, and then I'm going to do another / the sweet breeze is blowing. So for me, this is one perspective, and in this case, we're going to go with third person point of view because we know it's not first person. It does not use I or me or my, and it does not use you. And so it's not second person point of view. In this case, it's third person point of view. And then we have lines 4 through 9. So 4 to 9, in this case, it shifts into the dog's point of view. So the dog's point of view rather than third person. The air all full of singing feels just right, so no excuses now. We're going to the park. And so in this case, again, dog's point of view or first person point of view as well. You could think about it like that. Now, in this case, because I am starting in the middle of the poem, I can use ellipses. And if I wanted to add that / that lets the reader know there were lines before that. And so now I'm going to borrow the air all full of singing feels just right. And again, you can simply copy and paste this part into your Google Doc. And I'm just typing it here. And then I want to make sure I use my / so no excuses now. And again, you may choose to start later in the poem, depending on how you want to set your document up. This is just my opinion. and this is one of the pluses about writing, is that you may have a different opinion. However, you just have to defend yourself using the text evidence that you have. That's the most important part, is use the text evidence to defend your response. And I will make you see what spring is all about. And so in this case, there we end our lines 4 through 9. So now we have, so I'm going to go ahead and exit our poem for a moment, and I'm going to make our Google Doc larger so we can see the text evidence that we have. We have lines 1, 2, and 3, third person point of view. April is a dog's dream. Is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. Lines 4 through 9, the dog's point of view, or the first person perspective point of view rather. The air all full of singing feels just right, so no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. And now we have our information to now go back, and we have our definitions up here to now create our middle school paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up, and we can begin to construct our middle school paragraph here. And that's what we will be doing next. So in thinking about our middle school paragraph, we want to make sure that we reference the poem and the writer, and we tell them what direction we're going in. Now we have our first sentence, and we've told the reader where we're going. Next, we want to make sure that we provide, again, a very basic definition of what point of view is, so that we do not assume that the reader knows this. We want to be as crystal clear as possible. Point of view allows readers to know who is telling the story or who is speaking. So let's take it from the top. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Point of view allows readers to know who is speaking. And now we're speaking from the poem here. Singer begins her poem with the narrator's perspective, or with the narrator's point of view. With the narrator's, we could even say with the narrator's voice. With a narrator's voice. And I'm going to go ahead and borrow this, Control C, and move this down, Control V. However, the poem, the voice shifts to a dog's perspective. And then I can put a comma, and then I'm going to now include my text evidence. Okay, let's take a look at what we have so far. And just again, writers, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we read what we're writing, so we make sure that we hear it aloud and that it flows. Ultimately, the only purpose for reading it aloud is to check for flow, and really to check for, not just the only reason, but to check for mistakes. We're more likely to catch a mistake if we read it aloud. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Point of view allows readers to know who is speaking. Singer begins her poem with a narrator's voice. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. However, the voice shifts to a dog's perspective. The air all full of singing feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew. And I will make you see what spring is all about. And so in this case, shifts, and then I may decide, however the voice shifts, and I may decide to end it and keep it sort of, keep the reader in suspense. And so let's hear it like this. However, the voice shifts, and then I have this. However, the voice shifts. The air all full of singing feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. To a dog's perspective. However, the voice shifts to a dog's perspective. And maybe you will decide that you don't want to chase and charge and chew, and you may choose to take out, and I will make you see what spring is all about, to chase and charge and chew to a dog's perspective. And so that may be something that we do instead. And so we may take this part out and choose not to use it. So we could choose to do that. However, the voice shifts. The air all full of singing feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew to a dog's perspective. We always end where we began. Therefore, singer shifts point of view or changes point of view to allow readers to see life from a dog's perspective, to see life how a dog sees it. And I already said a dog's perspective or a dog's point of view. So to see life the way a dog does. And that might be a good way to end it, because again, that's what I do not want to do, right, writers? I do not want to repeat myself. And that's something that you want to do as a writer. You want to avoid repetition unless you're trying to emphasize something. So let's take it from the top, our middle school paragraph, and let's see how it sounds. Please remember, right, writers, this is a first draft. And so when we're thinking about critiquing a work, or what I call constructive criticism, when it's a first draft, you want to cut yourself a little bit of slack. You want to give yourself some grace and allow yourself some forgiveness, because it's our first draft. So when you're first writing something, it's not going to be your best work. So just keep that in mind, right, writers? In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Point of view allows readers to know who is speaking. Singer begins her poem with the narrator's voice. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. However, the voice shifts. The air all full of singing feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew to a dog's perspective. However, the voice shifts. I may decide to repeat this to chase and charge and chew. The voice shifts to a dog's perspective. So here I'm repeating for emphasis. However, the voice shifts. The voice shifts to a dog's perspective. Therefore, Singer's poem changes point of view to allow readers to see life the way a dog does. And I kind of like that. However, the voice changes or the voice shifts, and maybe I decide to say the voice changes, the voice shifts to a dog's perspective. Therefore, Singer's poem changes point of view to allow readers to see life the way a dog does. And that is a first draft for April is a Dog's Dream. Now what we want to do is we want to now analyze our text evidence. Why do this? Why shift or change the perspective? And that is our next task. So we're going to borrow all of this information here, and now we're going to talk about the why. So why do this? And that's what we need to be able to begin to then construct our upper level paragraph. So why do this? And let's talk about the why. And this one first, and then we'll come back to lines 4 through 9. So first, lines 1, 2, and 3. Why why have it third person point of view? April is a dog's dream, so we know the title of the poem is being repeated. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. Well, if you think about it, soft grass growing and sweet breeze blowing, we have a little bit of imagery being revealed here. And the imagery helps to describe what is really being described here. Well, it's describing the setting. So the imagery describes the setting. So that could be one reason why we have a narrator's point of view. So it's almost like the narrator is setting us up because it says the title. So the narrator sets up or presents the season, the setting. And then the imagery helps to describe that setting. And so those could be two reasons why the writer would do this, why Marilyn Singer would begin, April is a dog's dream. The narrator presents the season or the setting. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. Basically, imagery is being used to describe the setting, the season that we're in. But then we have a change, and we have the air all full of singing feels just right. And so we're thinking about, so no excuses now, and thinking about the air all full of singing feels just right. But who exactly is feeling here? And so my question to you is, who is doing the feeling? The air all full of singing feels just right. Who is doing the feeling here? Well, in my opinion, the dog is the one doing the feeling. The dog is feeling here. And then we have, so no excuses now. So who is speaking here? Who is speaking? Who is coming up with excuses? The owner of the dog is coming up with the excuses, and it's almost like the dog is speaking to the owner. So in this case, so no excuses now, the dog is having a conversation with the owner. So the dog is speaking to the owner, to its owner, letting it know, hey, you can't come up with any excuses now. It's springtime. It's time to go outside. We're going to the park. And notice how the dog is it's almost like the dog is in charge, is in command. So the dog is taking the lead. The dog is in command. And because it's saying, so no excuses now, no excuses from you now. So the dog is taking the lead. The dog is in command. We're going to the park. So the dog is deciding what is going on. So the dog is deciding what they're going to do, what is going to happen. And then we have this idea of to chase and charge and chew. So here what's being described is the dog's actions. So the dog's actions are being described and what the dog plans on doing when it's in the park. And so we have this idea of the dog's actions being described. And then we have, and I will make you see what spring is all about. And in this case, it's as if the dog is letting the owner know, hey, winter's over. It's time for us to go outside and to really experience spring. And so the dog is letting the owner experience or live vicariously through the dog. So the dog is letting, and I will make you see what spring is all about. So the dog gives the owner or allows the owner the opportunity to experience the season almost like the right way, the way it should be experienced, the way it should be. So the dog allows the owner the opportunity to experience the season the way it should be experienced. And so that's what I think is going on here in thinking about the why. And notice how, right, writers, I went sort of line by line, really thinking about what is being said. And when you do that, you allow yourself the opportunity to succeed because you've taken it line by line. Sometimes you have to take it as a whole, and sometimes you can take it line by line and really deconstruct it. And now look at all this information that we have. We have all of this, and we have all of this here to then construct our upper level paragraph. And really, that's allowing you the opportunity to ensure your success because you've taken the time to analyze the text evidence, the why, and now the writing becomes less daunting. It becomes easier to write because you've allowed yourself the opportunity to brainstorm. You've allowed yourself the opportunity to think. Now, to construct our upper level paragraph, we are going to go back to our middle school version. And we're going to add on to that middle school version with all of this, the reasons why in the text evidence. So allow me an opportunity and a moment, right, writers, to go ahead and hit that Control C. And then we're going to move this down and hit our Control V. And now we're going to bring in all of this text evidence right here to explain what we mean. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control C because I know this is in my first paragraph or in my middle school paragraph. So here, this is going to be shifting into this section right here because I know this is when my first quotation is being presented. So I'm going to do that. So in this case, we're going to go to the top. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Point of view allows readers to know who is speaking. Now, in this upper level paragraph, we may not need to be so obvious in saying that. So because we kind of state it with a singer begins her poem with a narrator's voice. So I'm going to go ahead and take that part out. And let's go ahead and reread this. And then we'll start to include the why. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Singer begins her poem with the narrator's voice. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. The narrator in lines 1 through 3, in lines 1, 2, and 3, the narrator presents the season and the setting through imagery. And so we can say that. So in lines 1, 2, and 3, the narrator's voice is used. The narrator's perspective is used. Perspective is used. Let me find my S there. Perspective is used to present the season and the setting through imagery. And I know I'm using passive voice here, so I'm going to want to fix that. In lines 1, 2, and 3, the narrator's perspective, I don't like perspective presents. I think that's too many P's. The narrator's perspective, I'm just going to say presents. The narrator presents the season and the setting through imagery. I like that. However, the voice changes. The air all full of singing feels just right, so no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and shoo. However, the voice changes, and we're going to go back Now, and we may decide to include, and I will make you see what spring is all about. So let's go back to this. However, the voice changes. The air all full of singing feels just right, so no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew. I'm going to borrow all of this here and move it down here. However, the voice changes to the dog's point of view, or to a dog's point of view, a dog's point of view. The air all full of singing feels just right, so no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. And so in this case, however, and I use the transition word however, because I'm now providing a contrast. I'm now letting the reader know, hey, I'm going to now give a different idea here, and that's why we want to use however. That's the purpose of the transition word, however. Now we're going to talk about the why. So I'm going to borrow all of this, Control C, and then I'm going to move this down here so that we can start to use it within our paragraph. And I'm going to minimize this screen just a little bit so we can now see the complete upper level paragraph. We're going to take it from the top, right, writers. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Singer begins her poem with the narrator's voice. April is a dog's dream, the soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. In lines 1, 2, and 3, the narrator presents the season and the setting through imagery. However, the voice changes to a dog's point of view. I think I'm going to shift this. So Singer begins her poem with a narrator's voice to present the season and setting through imagery. So I think I'm going to reveal first and then provide the quotation. And then I'm going to take this part out. And so in this case, Singer begins her poem with a narrator's voice to present the season and setting through imagery. April is a dog's dream, the soft grass is growing, the sweet breeze is blowing. However, the voice changes to a dog's point of view. The air all full of singing feels just right, so no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. However, the voice changes to a dog's point of view. Singer does this, and again, this is our opinion. So Singer changes or shifts perspective. Singer shifts perspective because the goal is for the dog, is for the dog's owner, is for the dog to allow the owner. Singer shifts perspective because the goal is for the dog. Singer shifts perspective because the goal is for the dog to give its owner the opportunity to experience the season the way it is intended. And now I want to use a different transition word which demonstrates emphasis. Indeed, and now we can go back to this part here. Indeed, the dog is the one doing the feeling. The dog is the one that feels. The dog is the one, and I'm using this repetition on purpose. Indeed, the dog is the one that feels. The dog is the one taking charge or taking the lead. Taking the lead and making a decision. So the dog, indeed, the dog is the one that feels. The dog is the one taking the lead and making a decision and making the decisions and making a decision, is the one taking taking the lead and making a decision. The dog is the active one. Because again, the dog's actions are being described. And it almost makes it seem like the dog has an owner. The owner is either, it's winter, it was winter time and spring came. And so, maybe it's that transition between winter and spring. And before the owner was like, oh, it's too cold outside. But now that it's spring, the dog takes charge, or maybe the owner is, not always eager to go outside. Let's go ahead and take it from the top because, again, it's really important, right, writers, to go back and reread your work, especially when it's a first draft. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Singer begins her poem with the narrator's voice to present the season and setting through imagery. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing. The sweet breeze is blowing. However, the voice changes to a dog's point of view. The air, all full of singing, feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. Singer shifts perspective because the goal is for the dog to give its owner the opportunity to experience the season the way it is intended, or the way to experience the season the way it is intended. I don't like that. I think the way it should be, to experience the season the way it should be. Indeed, the dog is the one that feels. The dog is the one taking the lead and making a decision. The dog is the active one. I really like the way that flows. Therefore, and so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of that. And now I'm going to borrow what I used at the end of the middle school version. Therefore, Singer's poem changes point of view to allow readers to allow the owner and the dog's owner and its readers and the dog's owner and readers to see life the way a dog does. Therefore, Singer's poem changes point of view, not only for the owner or the dog's owner, not only for the dog's owner to see life the way a dog does, but for the reader too. And in this case, because I mean to meaning also, but for the reader also, I'm saying to, and that is the double O in to. And when we use it in that way, we want to make sure we have a comma before it. Therefore, Singer's poem changes point of view, not only for the dog's owner to see life the way a dog does, but for the reader too. Ooh, I really like that for a first draft. Got to give myself a pat on the back, right, writers? Let's go ahead and minimize that, and let's see the whole piece. So I'm just going to minimize it one more time so we can sort of see it all on one document here. So here's our upper level paragraph, and I'm going to move that down a bit. One more time. Here we go. In the poem, April is a Dog's Dream by Marilyn Singer, the point of view shifts from third person to first person. Singer begins her poem with a narrator's voice to present the season and setting through imagery. April is a dog's dream. The soft grass is growing. The sweet breeze is blowing. However, the voice changes to a dog's point of view. The air, all full of singing, feels just right. So no excuses now. We're going to the park to chase and charge and chew, and I will make you see what spring is all about. Singer shifts perspective because the goal is for the dog to give its owner the opportunity to experience the season the way it should be. Indeed, the dog is the one that feels. The dog is the one taking the lead and making a decision. The dog is the active one. Therefore, Singer's poem changes point of view, not only for the dog's owner to see life the way a dog does, but for the reader too. I really like that. I'm very proud of that, right, writers. And I really, I'm saying really a lot. I apologize, but I very much enjoy the process of writing and that experience, that just that sense of accomplishment, the sense that you're creating something. You're not just consuming something, you're creating something from something you've consumed. I mean, essentially, we've consumed the poem and we've deconstructed it. And now we're taking that poem and we're creating something new with it. Thank you to poetryfoundation.org. Thank you to Marilyn Singer and her poem, April is a Dog's Dream. And now if I take all of this away, so I'm going to move this, Control C, and I'm going to move that somewhere else. And if I want to just look at our upper level paragraph and our middle school paragraph, so you can sort of see it all together. Here's our middle school paragraph right here. And then here we have our upper level paragraph right here, so you can see it. And if you wanted to look at both together and sort of seeing that difference visually to a full screen here, we're going to have to blow it up just a little bit so you can see the middle school and the upper level paragraph. You can see, again, a difference in length and also depth. And so this gives you an opportunity to see that. Again, thank you so much, Right Writers, for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this process. Love you guys. Please stay tuned for the next video. Please subscribe to my channel. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.